My name is Richard McCulloch. I look after the National Processing Centre in Christchurch for the Insolvency Service, and so hence the reason why I have a little bit to do with a lot of you budget advisors. I guess it's quite appropriate in some ways that we're sort of a little later in the day coming and talking to you, because when people are getting into financial difficulties, it's probably a little bit later in the day when they're coming to talk to us. And, you know, sadly, that's where things are. I guess New Zealand's insolvency laws are very similar to as they've been right across the world, but fortunately over history we no longer execute people who haven't paid their debts. Hey, we very seldom would throw anybody in prison for just that. That really wouldn't happen. So our laws today are very much built around the basis of giving some finality to the creditors when they're frustrated with not being able to be paid. It gives that finality to their situation and in that. But more importantly, it gives the debtor a fresh start. So it's about relieving them from the pressures of all the debts that they've got mounted up around them, and they can get a fresh start into a new world. The insolvency laws, as a general thing, are very much focused on sort of freezing the debts that people have got as at today, and also alongside that, because nothing comes free, comes alongside that is freezing their assets, and then depending on what options are available to that person, and we'll go through those in a minute, but we would then maybe look to sell those assets or whatever it is and try and get as much money back to the creditors as we can, still enabling the debtor to continue a fresh life. So that's sort of the goal that we're looking for. Unfortunately today I really haven't got the time to go through infinite detail of the options, and so what I thought we'd do was sort of cover off what are the options that are available to people, and what are the implications and where does that go to. So obviously the first option that's on the board there is a summary instalment order, which is basically a debt repayment plan. The big thing about debt repayment plan is the person needs to have a look at their budget and say, well, actually, if I didn't have to pay all these other debts, how much money have I got left that I could contribute to all of my debts together? So effectively, it's a little bit of a sort of creditors pool sort of type view, and we're seeing a lot of uptake in this area. A lot of people are showing an interest in it. Again, like other ones, it freezes the debt as at today, so the creditors can't put any more penalties or things on from that point onwards. It freezes the debt. But it does only include unsecured debt. So, you know, if they've got property or something like that, they could lose that to the creditor. You know, a very good option for a lot of people who have got themselves into quite a lot of debt. They're making a lot of payments across a number of people, and it's about bringing it together into a debt repayment plan. The limit is 47,000. It is up there. So if their debt's under 47,000 and they've got some money available, they can go into a summary instalment order system. If their debt's under 47,000 but they've still got nothing left in their budget, even after they've stopped paying these bills, whatever they've got, there's still nothing left in their budget, then their really only option is the no asset procedure. Again, no asset procedure, it's a one-off opportunity. They get one chance to actually get themselves sorted out. They're relieved of their release from their debts. Because there's nothing in their estate that can be sold, so they've got no property or anything that we can realise, their creditors aren't going to get any money out of it. They've got no money to make contributions. The creditors aren't going to get anything. So the creditors have to release them from their debts. And so obviously creditors aren't a big fan of the no asset procedure. But it gives the debtor a fresh start, and that's the goal. So we wouldn't normally take household equipment, household furnishings, things like that, unless it was some sort of massive value jewellery or art or some quite high value thing that we figured was actually not really necessary in their general living. But we won't normally take furniture and equipment. Similarly, tools of trade, people who are in business or tradesmen, they've got a degree of tools of trade. If we took them away from them, how would they work? And also, most of the time, those assets aren't worth selling. So we won't, we're trying to give them an opportunity to carry on life with a fresh start. But they're not necessarily going to be extravagant if they've got some extravagance in there. Once they get over the 47,000 magic figure, the really only option is bankruptcy. And so in that scenario, anything that they own as at today, with the exception of we're not going to deal with household furnishings and things like that. But if they've got other assets that could be sold and realised with the creditors, that's where bankruptcy comes in. And so it basically freezes all of that stuff. We would sell it. They get the opportunity to carry on a fresh start, and their creditors get paid for whatever we can get. Now, as I said before, nothing comes free in terms of there are some implications for people making this decision. It's the reason why probably should be quite late in the piece. They've tried a number of things to try to get around this before it comes to see us. But effectively, the restrictions on them are about stopping them getting back into debt again. So a person who's in a summary instalment order or in a no asset procedure, they've got a restriction. Well, the no asset procedure is 12 months, so they cannot borrow any more money for a period of 12 months without telling the person they're borrowing the money from that they're in that procedure. Summary instalment order, they have to tell them all the time they're in the order, generally 3 years. And a bankruptcy, the same. If they're in there for 3 years, they have to tell somebody that. But also, under bankruptcy, we won't let them go back into business or work for relatives under the guise of managing businesses, all those sort of things, without getting some consent. We won't even let them leave the country without getting consent. So there are some constraints on them. And so, but they're not insurmountable, and they do give you a fresh start. As I said, I can't really go over, not wrong way, I can't really go over all of the detail here today. So the website, this is the Insolvency website. At the top there, the SIO register and the Insolvency register. If you want to find somebody who's in bankruptcy, click on those buttons and do a search on the name. That'll get you to them. The other information down the bottom carries all sorts of information in there. And if there's something you can't find, our contact centre, there's a contact us somewhere that you can do. Our contact centre has got a really, really good reputation for giving really good advice. So contact the contact centre, there's email contacts, and we'll go from there. The other thing about the website is on the top corner up there, it's got login and it's got do it online. You can do anything from an insolvency perspective online these days, just about. So go and have a wee play with that.